beyond that talk, we do want to have a little bit more of a discussion on something we haven't actually talked about really at all on this pod, and that's really been the mid majors.
Right.
Obviously, they're not really the most talked about thing, and for fair enough reasons. Obviously, it's the high majors that really matter at the end of the day. But if you want a good upset pick, you want a surprising Sweet 16 appearance from a team, there's definitely talk about it. And now that we're definitely getting into the end of the season, there's been a lot of mid-major teams we're looking at right now that can put some upsets on, and we're even going to put some teams that we think can get upset in the first rounds that would probably play these mid-major teams that are playing at arguably a high major level. Like this has been a renaissance era, at least this year it has been for good mid-major teams.
Right.
Um,
Definitely.
so where do you want to start off at?
I mean, I kind of want to start off with New Mexico State, or my mistake, just New Mexico. I mean, just with how really well they've played this year. Donovan Dent deserves so much more attention than what he's getting. He's probably going to end up being a third team All American. He's absolutely electric guard, one of the best players to watch in the country. And he's a guy who, if he decides to come back for another year of college basketball, that's a guy who everyone is going to be trying to get their hands on in the portal. And I mean, I think New Mexico definitely has a really good chance to go far in the tournament this year.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the team is good. Don't forget about Nelly Joseph Jr. They have a great duo there. I mean, another Patino leading a great team.
Right.
Who would
Yeah.
have saw it? This team feels really capable of doing a lot. I get it; they have some iffy losses, but this was a lot like last year. Maybe a little bit less consistent, perhaps, but they can go pretty far. And I think the Madden West once again is having a nice field. It's not as big as last year, but I think the top heavy nature of the Madden West this year is showing. Utah State's had some great moments. San Diego State is a little bit iffy. They're kind of bubbly, but they can get things done if they really need to. And then at large bids are probably not possible for Colorado State and Boise State, but if they win the Madden West, they're good bid stealers. But a team that I was thinking about, and I think everyone has, if you're talking mid majors, has been Drake. They just
Yeah.
won the NBC with a D2 squad, by the way. Like
Right.
this has been an insane year for Coach Stintz. I think he really has shown the opportunities of going from D2 to D1 in almost every aspect. And this is a team that could just make it as an at large, which is kind of interesting. I mean, we saw the opportunity for that last year. And we know Drake has been insanely good at the mid major level recently. They haven't had a win, though. They haven't had a win in the past, 2, 3 tournaments they've been in. And I think this is the one they get it. They can be a 10, 11 seed if everything works out for them. And I think if there's ever a time, maybe it is now because I think it's time for Drake to shock the world and start getting out there. I would say at least.
Yeah. I mean, Drake, like you mentioned, that's a team primarily composed of the D2 transfers that were brought over. And it's just really incredible to see. I think as good as they were last year, come back and arguably have a better season than what they were at this point in the year. That game the other day where they beat UNI was just a really, really good game. And I mean, a really great watch. I mean, just happened to be on the TV after, forget whatever Power Five game I'd been watching that night. But
I think it
just,
might
yeah,
have been Purdue IU, but
yeah, actually, yeah, I think it was that game. But yeah, it was just to you and I mean, really great college atmosphere. That's a thing that I think don't get that doesn't get talked about enough. Just some of the really, really great atmospheres a lot of these mid-major schools have, like a GCU, for example. I know a lot of people call that the biggest party in college basketball. But yeah, I mean, just a really electric crowd in that gym, and Drake was challenged at certain points of the game, but they were able to kind of keep pace and ultimately come out with the win. And that's definitely a team that I think could make a second weekend, maybe even definitely
that
make it
was
out of the
a
first
fun
round
take.
for sure.
Definitely. I think a team that really can fit that role is one of the UCs. I mean, we've seen this as well.
Right.
Once again, if we want to talk about, you know, all-time possibilities for an at-large bid from a mid-major league, the Big West, I don't think has ever had one. Or if it has, it's been a long, long time coming. and UC San Diego, which, by the way, first time they're eligible for the NCAA tournament at the D1 level, and UC Irvine, who has had also great wins. They're both leading the league. They've had some incredible games. They've split the series between each other. San Diego is technically the better team overall, and if the scenario comes about where UC Irvine beats them in the conference tournament and they win, then there's a possibility. There's a small world. I think that it's most likely not going to happen just based off of how the tournament and the seeding works and KenPom and all these metrics. But San Diego is up there. It is a top mid major, one of the best ones right now. They're having an incredible season. Irvine cannot be ignored. I mean, they're being featured on ESPN. Like, this is the time, I would say, once again, for both of these programs to be in that scenario to win games in March. Maybe not second weekend, but I think there's a win between one of these two teams, I would say. If not both, considering that both have good shots of making it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, those UC Irvine, San Diego games, those are when they play each other, it's pretty. It gets rowdy in
And
those
I've
gyms.
seen both of those games. There's talent. There's talent out west that I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think most people have ever seen. You don't
Right.
really get to see a conference like the Big West be on a level like this. Like, obviously, there are the G5 and some other larger mid-major conferences, but the Big West is typically very underrated. They never really get anywhere. They don't typically win games in March, but there is a change in the water. There's a change
Yeah.
in the water in California for this, so
Definitely.
I'm all there for it to believe in
And
win.
just to run over the A10 really fast, VCU is having a really great year. Definitely a team that's being under talked about. Max Shulgin, Joe, but I really don't know how to say it. Bamizel.
Oh,
Um,
Beasley, yes,
yeah,
yes.
Joe Bamizel. Yeah, dude, those guys. That's a great duo to have, and that's a duo that I'm super scared to play if I see them in the first round in the tournament. They're both averaging around like 15 to 16 points a game. And I think VCU they're able to get up and down really well and just really in an A10 this year that I thought Dayton was going to end up winning, but ultimately kind of fizzled out once conference play got into high gear. But yeah, I mean they've looked really great in the A10. They're 12-4, I believe, in conference and 22-5 overall, and that's they definitely have a chance. I think they probably do end up getting an at-large bid.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. I mean, beyond that, at least GMU has played well. They did lose at VCU, so they did hand over first place control to VCU. But in the scenario where VCU does not win the A10, there are a slew of teams that can fill in for that role that I think feel all very similar to last year. I mean, Duquesne was a team that we really didn't expect to win, but
Right.
managed and then won a game as well, which is I think one of the crazy upsets that we really forget about from last year. Dayton, I think, sends a great shot. They've been hot. They've been a lot hotter recently going out of conference play and into the tournament realm than they have been, when they entered. SLU has kind of got in a bit of a snare. I mean, Josh Schertz
Right.
definitely had a harder season than we were expecting, sitting with Avila, but there's an opportunity there. New coaching as well with Woj. He's done well at St. Bonnie. I don't know if they really make it anywhere, but it's very top heavy this conference. Um, I wouldn't be shocked if a team that is not in the top like three makes it again and even wins a game. So I mean, the A10 is always a fun conference to watch on the regular. So don't be shocked if like a Loyola Chicago makes it or something like that.
Yeah.
There's so many great opportunities for like a St. Joe's or any of these like not insanely good but somewhat good teams that have these good games in them that make it into March and just roll.
Right.
But I think yeah for that at least be
I mean,
reasons.
yeah, I mean that's prime opportunity for those guys to get any teams in these mid-major conferences to be a potential bid stealer.